If you're actively seeking ways to build your mental toughness, navigate life transitions with grace, or simply find inspiration to keep moving forward, then you're in the right place. Welcome to the Art of Beautiful Thinking podcast. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Art of Beautiful Thinking podcast. I'm Yvette and I'm here with my co-host, Cat. In today's episode, we're actually going to cover some of the outcomes that Cat has been experiencing from one of our transformational programs called the Art of Beautiful, We Are the Art of Beautiful Thinking, called the Authentic Life Blueprint program. And I just wanted to, because Kat has had some really major changes occur to her and some really cool insights that have actually happened. So I thought it'd be a good opportunity for us to find out a little bit about what it means to really connect with your authentic self. And Kat can speak firsthand with that through this recent experience. So over to you, Kat. How have you found the program? What's been happening?
Well, it's kind of blown my mind a little bit, quite honestly.
Okay.
Look, I was very skeptical. As you know, I've done a lot of therapy from my childhood and a lot of trauma counselling and cognitive behavioural therapy to deal with my anxiety and, you know, the PTSD that I had from when I lost my daughter. So I've been down that path a lot. You know, I studied a bit of it at uni. So, yeah, I was very, very skeptical. And I can honestly say that I'd gotten to the point in my life where I felt like, and I think a lot of us do, you know, you've done the work, you've spoken to a counsellor, you've done different things, and you kind of figure to yourself, oh, well, I'm as good as I'm going to get.
Yeah.
This is it. You know, this is how it is, you know, and you hit 50, you go, right, I'm starting to accept my flaws and my quirks, and you do that anyway. But still things weren't right for me. Wasn't feeling good about things, not happy about the direction my life was going, particularly career-wise. And just feeling all at sea. And when I started with the workbook, I felt very skeptical because I was like, oh, yeah, you know, how's this going to help? But much to my surprise,
Sorry, just before you move on. So with how, you know, everything that you were going through, and as you said, you know, you got to a point where you were going, I've tried all of these things and now I've just got to accept who I am. Did you also feel as if there was something missing?
Oh, yeah, totally burned out, really disappointed.
Yeah.
Felt like I was just going, okay, well, I've just got to change my expectations and set the bar a lot lower than what I thought my life was going to be like.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Which is horrible. That's a horrible thing.
It is horrible.
And it's common. A lot of people do it that I talk to. They just go, oh, well, you know, it's almost like giving up.
Yeah.
But not in a good way. That's not like letting go. It's like giving up, going, I'll just roll over now because this is as good as it gets. This is as good as it gets.
This is it. This is life. Yeah.
Which is horrible because at this age, actually, you want to be celebrating all the wins, the fact that the kids are a bit older, you've got a bit more freedom and, you know, you've got some runs on the board rather than going, okay, I'm stuck and I've just got to learn to live with that. I've tried every which way to get out of it and none of it works. So maybe it's just how life is.
Okay. So you basically came then into, when you came across the workbook and we started the coaching program, you came into it with that mindset of, oh, you know, well, I'll give it a go, but, you know, nothing else has really worked.
Yeah. I was like, I've got a lot of respect for Yvette. I know she's pretty switched on. But yeah, all right. Well, I'll see. Very skeptical. So not the kind of person that would charge into something head first and just go, yeah, this is great. I was like, okay. Yeah. So, I mean, unless it's to do with cake, and then I probably would charge into it head first going, yeah, this is great. But yeah.
People like it.
Well, coming from England, we all love cake. No, more very skeptical anyway. And I couldn't get my head around, you know, there's the separation between science and psychology and then sort of the self-growth in intrinsic sort of authentic life work, which to me kind of made me a bit scared of woo as well.
Right. Yeah. So kind of looking at it going, oh, is this all new agey type of stuff?
Don't want to be, I don't want to end up, in some sort of weird woo thing because, that would not, and I'm not that kind of person to go along with that and go, yeah, this is great. I'd go, oh no, I'm out, you know?
Yeah.
So
would I.
Yeah, exactly. So it took some convincing. But the way that the workbook is written, it started off with some fairly familiar things. The way I would describe it is it started off with familiar stuff, cognitive behavioural, sort of very similar mindset shifting, understanding how things work, that kind of stuff. So that was really good to give you that grounding.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, yeah, I've seen this before. Okay, I'm fairly familiar with this. Then it started moving into some new territory that was it sort of made me stop and think and open my mind and reflect. And actually, the biggest revelation was rather than going outwards for information, it taught me to come inwards for information,
Mm.
which that's so anti what I've always been told,
Yeah. So basically,
especially.
the answers are within. And so it was
Yeah.
about reconnecting and understanding that you can actually start
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
trust yourself.
And
Yeah.
I really doubted that because the
Mm.
messaging I've always been given ever since I was young is like, run it past someone else that's wiser than you.
Yeah. Yeah.
you know and actually, what this has taught me is that if you do turn inward, you actually do know what is best for yourself, and then there's a lot of power inside us as human beings to create
Yeah.
our um our reality, and what's going on inside you, and what that quiet soul voice is, and the techniques that you use to teach us how to do that are really
Yeah.
practical and give you that skill set, because to go from knowing in the mind to actually doing is quite big, so you really do need to be guided along that way, and it's not
Yes.
hard. It's scary at first. I really didn't want to do the mirror work at all.
I think most people try to avoid the mirror work.
The mirror work was the one thing I was like, "Oh god, I do not wanna sit and look at myself and go, 'I love you.'"
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
felt, and I remember that conversation you and I had, you're like, "Why haven't you done it?" And I was like, "'Cause I feel like a wanker."
You do, because you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you go, okay, because we're
Mm,
we're not used to, as humans, looking at ourselves in the mirror and appreciating what we see. And
mm,
we're also told that if you were to do that, that means you're actually being narcissistic,
yeah,
or you're being up yourself or things like that, when in actual fact
yeah,
we're talking about building a relationship with yourself
yeah,
and
that's right.
appreciating and respecting who you are. So it's a very different process to
Yes.
basically being in love with yourself as such.
And you
So
listen, you
yeah.
find your internal compass. That's what you do. You find your internal compass, and then you start knowing, what is my true north? What am
Yeah.
I actually and one of the big things as well that you taught me was listen to your body's response. Do you know what I mean? Like, when I think about that, does my stomach curl up and go, "Oh no"? Did my shoulders go, "Oh no"? Like, and when I've started doing that, interestingly, that's given me the best answers possible, and not to sit in fear, not to go, "Well, I'm gonna say no to that because my body says no," but not to second guess myself and go, "Well, maybe I should say yes to that because maybe that's what I'm gonna get."
Yeah. And is that something you would have done in the past? You would have just gone,
Yeah.
"I've just got to say yes to it"? Yeah.
Particularly with work, particularly, so this has been quite transformative for me in my career at a time when I've been very much struggling, because I've come to Tasmania, to a very closed, how shall we
Community.
community, that
Yeah.
people, they've known each other, they've gone to high school together, and they're going to be in the
Yeah.
same government jobs together for the next 50 years. So it's quite difficult to come into that space and work as a contractor, say, doing, and it's all very different. So yeah, it's all and Tasmania doesn't seem to have the same level of government oversight that other states have, but we won't go into that. But anyway, so I found that very difficult, and just was really questioning, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And I've had previously worked for myself for 15 years, and quite frankly, I'm tired of working for other people, and I knew I was. Um, and the career that I loved, kind of, I can't do that here. So,
Yeah.
yeah, but I kept working in jobs just to try and bring in some money, because I thought, oh well, I'd better, and also I don't want to sit around on my ass doing nothing because it's so boring. But I just wanted to. It was a poverty and a scarcity mentality that I was coming from,
Yeah.
because I was
Yeah.
fearful that if I didn't keep working at something, then, and I wouldn't be able to make ends meet. The fact of the matter is, interestingly, the longer I've continued to work and do jobs I hate, the more my income has reduced each time.
Isn't that interesting? So, yeah, it's fascinating how when we go against what is true to us and we start forcing things to happen, it's
Yes.
almost like doors start closing. And that frustrates you even more, and
Yeah.
and you feel as if, "Oh, why is this happening? I'm doing everything right. I'm trying to make this happen." But the doors are closing because it's really quite clear that that's not
Mm.
the path you should be on.
No, and
So,
the
yeah.
universe is kind of saying, "Right, this is not for you, so
Yeah.
don't keep pushing forward." And then I keep pushing forward and it's going, "This is not for you."
Wake up!
Smack, 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 like, yeah. Now, she's still not listening. It's time we shoved her head down the toilet. You know, she's not listening. God, she's stubborn, this one. So, yes, that's what I've been
And it's fascinating because we're laughing about it now because in hindsight, you can look at it and go, wow, yeah, that's how
Yeah.
clear it is. But when you're going through it, you're just getting totally frustrated and upset and going, I don't know
Going,
what
"Oh
I'm doing
gosh,
wrong. What's
what's
going
happening?"
on?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and being super
Yeah.
fearful. Super fearful going, "Oh, I'm going to lose everything. I have a mortgage and I'm going to have to pay
And
for my
and that's the
car," and
stuff that keeps you where you're at because
yeah,
you're going, I'm going to lose everything. I've got to keep doing this. And this is what society also says. You've got to get out there. You've got to find a job. You've got to put a roof over your head. You've got to do this. You've got to do that. And no doubt, yes, we do need to make sure that we are secure and safe because as humans, that's what we
of
want.
course. Yeah.
But there are lots of ways to become secure and safe.
Well,
There's
it's
lots of
yeah,
ways to do it whilst
yeah,
you're also experiencing joy. And
yes.
uh, and
9
I
to
think
5 is not what everyone has to do.
no, you don't. And and I know that you've had some pretty major breakthroughs as well. Did you want to discuss one of those experiences?
Well, I kind of, I I sort of stopped and said to my husband, "Look, I think what I might do is I might just manage our Airbnb myself for a bit, you know?" And he was like, "Oh, I'm just not sure if that's gonna bring in enough money and blah, blah." And I went, "Yeah, yeah, I just got this feeling. I might just give them I've got this bad feeling about the people that are managing it. I don't trust them. I feel as though, things aren't going well, and I've felt this way for a long time, but I think let's give him the ask." And he's again going, "Oh God, what are we gonna do?" Because I've always been working, letting other people manage that. So then
Yep.
I've had a bit of a look and realized that, yeah, my gut feeling was right without saying too much. And that Airbnb is a lot more lucrative than we thought it was. And if I run it myself and cut that middle guy out, it's almost super super lucrative. So that's what's happening there. So that's suddenly almost like in a way I just went, I'm letting go. I know that I can't work for other people. I know that I don't want to do that in this space and what I'm trying to do right now here. I want to work on the podcast and focus on this, the coaching. So I
Yep.
thought, well, I'll just get them out of the picture because I just don't feel right about them. There was something in the back of my brain. It was constantly on alert going, this isn't right, this isn't right, this isn't right. Then I've gone and looked at it. I've talked to the other side of the people that we're renting the house to. And yeah, the invoices and what is getting paid, they are like this. So I
Yeah.
just
Totally.
went, you know what, we'll get rid of them. And it's funny how I almost reached out. I stepped out in faith, knowing something was not right. I couldn't put my finger on it. I didn't have the plan. I didn't know how it was going to work. But now it almost looks as though for the next little bit, that's going to pretty well replace my income.
And what made you realize that, the work that you've been going through within the Authentic Life Blueprint program was the thing that made you kind of basically adjust and realign and look at what you needed to do in that space?
Oh, a lot of it was around what are your values? What are the things you enjoy doing? Um, what is it that brings you joy? In and the things that really bring me joy in all of the jobs I've done is helping people transform and move into their best version of themselves. That's what I've always
Yep.
loved. I don't particularly enjoy working in offices. I don't like office politics. I'm not a social climber. I'm a pretty introverted person that likes to keep to themselves. I'm pretty happy with that. I have an office persona and I laugh and enjoy a good laugh at work. But I'm very confident. A lot of people don't like that either. I just don't want to make myself small anymore to fit in with other people's narratives that doesn't
Yeah.
suit me and I find exhausting. And it was getting back to me, understanding my values, reflecting on the things that I like, reflecting on what made me feel good in my body, and what are the things that I need at this point in my life. And I think I've just been working on my statement this morning as well. What what does a good life, a life that makes me happy, what does that look like? And asking
Yeah,
myself how that looks and how closely does working 9 to 5 for other people align with what my dreams and goals are. And they're like this. They're like a million
totally
miles away,
separate.
totally
Yeah,
separate. So, every day you go to work, if you're doing that and you're forcing yourself to go, not only are you bearing the mental burdens of the amount of work you're doing, the nature of the work that you're doing, the office politics, the cultural bullshit that's going on there. You've also then got the cognitive dissonance of your brain screaming at you every day and your gut screaming at you every day going, this doesn't make you happy. You weren't put on earth to do this every day.
yeah. And by no means are we saying to people that just go quit your jobs, because it's
No,
not about that.
no.
It's about following what is, as you said, aligning, understanding what your values are, understanding what your strengths are,
Mm,
and then aligning that to that path that you want to take in life, but figuring out what
yeah,
that looks like. So it's almost, you got to look at that and go, well, what's the plan there? And so for
yeah,
you, you knew that you wanted to, so I'm just going to reiterate this. You knew that you wanted to leave the corporate world.
mm,
You were always a bit concerned about leaving it because you're going, I need the money. We need to have the money coming in
yep,
to cover us.
yep.
But then you got to a point where you hit a wall and you went, I just can't do this
Can't do
anymore.
it anymore. Yep.
And you
So
kind of went, okay, well,
unfulfilled.
that's it. When you made that decision and went, I'm not going to do this anymore, I'm letting go of that. And I'm just going to allow other opportunities to present themselves to
Yeah,
me.
yeah. I'm not going to
And
try
then
and overthink it. Yep.
yeah. And then you found, well, hold on, there's this Airbnb property that we have
Mm.
that we've allowed other people to manage that I haven't always been happy with. I'm just going to look into that. And then after looking into it, you've realized that, well, hey, that can actually cover my income.
Well, if I do that and suddenly we can, and interestingly enough, right, this is how these things happen. Suddenly the value of our houses has shifted and we can now refinance, which will also
Yep.
drop our bills down. And then I just said to my husband, I have a very expensive car and I don't feel that I need a very expensive car. Why don't we just give it the flick and we'll downsize and get something small and a little hunk of junk to drive around in and that'll do the job because as long as it's basically, okay. That's the other thing that has come out of this. I feel very detached to materialistic
Materialistic
things
stuff.
that
Yeah.
I once felt were really important.
Yeah.
Like, and he was like, "Oh, I got you that car for your 50th birthday." I was like, "I know, and I love it, and I loved it, but it's self-indulgent to continue." I looked at that and I said, "Do I want a car, a flash car to drive around in, or am I happy just to drive around in a perfectly normal, decent vehicle that will get me from A to B, which will be quite comfortable, and not have to go to work for someone else, do my other projects, work on this, and continue on my journey of what I feel is the start of something much bigger, which is also
Yeah.
better for." And I'm choosing my mental health. I'm choosing my mental health as well because I think you get to a certain age and you just can't squash yourself anymore.
Yeah, exactly right.
You
And it's
try.
interesting that in that letting go
Mm,
and that, as you said, that realization of
yeah,
starting to trust yourself
that's
and
right.
trusting in that things will just work out,
Yeah.
these things have actually worked out for you.
I mean, I haven't done it blindly.
No,
And
and
I've had
you don't
I've
go
had
into it blindly
resources.
either. Yeah,
Yeah. So I haven't just gone, "Oh, that's it. I'm quitting my job. I know that we won't have
yeah,
food on the table next week, but I don't care." My
yeah,
husband also has a good job, so that's great, and he's got a good career. But I just sort of looked at what we've got and how things are, and I'm like, you know what? If we rejig it, and I take my ego out, and I'm not so attached to materialistic stuff, and I'm starting to look at what is really important to me, which actually is being able to walk my dog every day in the sunshine, and maybe getting a garden started out the back and,
yeah,
doing the things I need to do and being more present for my teenage kids who have been so excited to have me home. I made them blueberry muffins yesterday and they were over the moon. And that's the first time I've done that in ages because I've been too exhausted and busy.
yeah.
So those are the things that I think are really important. And yeah, and so if all I've got to do is tweak a few things, yeah, who cares? Like I don't care. I'll
To
drive
make
around in a
yeah.
little car. Mm.
So with the Airbnb property, there was a bit more to it as well, wasn't it? When you actually realised that, well, okay, I
Oh,
need to cut
yeah,
out the middleman.
yeah.
You also had you didn't have a tenant. The tenant had left, but then they'd all of a sudden came back to you. Is that right?
Yeah, well, the tenant with the Airbnb company, her time was coming to an end.
Yep.
And then I was like, "Oh, wow, that's a shame. She was such a great tenant." And then she left for a week. And then she rang me up. And then after I decided, like I said, right, I'm taking this back. I'm managing it myself, So that's how it was. So the last week that she was there, I was like, yep, you're dealing directly with me now. And then she went and it was empty for a week. And Joe was like, well, what are we going to do now? And then suddenly I get a phone call from her crying, going, oh, my house is a mess. I need to come back. And, this is how it's all working. And so then she's been put back into our house. And I think they don't know how long she's going to be there. It's indefinite at this point.
Yep.
It's going month to month. And that's fantastic because it's funny that she went and then, the week I took over and then bang, within a week she's back.
Yeah. Yeah. And everything lined up.
Everything lined up. And we've got someone
Yeah.
else lined up to go in after her too. So, that's funny how I find there are no coincidences really. The universe kind of sends you a message. So if you're getting squashed and you're finding it harder and harder and harder where you are, it's because it's not right. You know,
Yeah.
it's not right. And then when you make some decisions in the right direction, things become a lot more easy. I noticed this when I was with my ex-husband. Life was difficult all the time. Conversations were difficult. Planning was difficult. I was exhausted. With my husband now, it's a breeze for the most part.
Yeah.
Communication is easy. And when we put our minds together to work on something, 9 times out of 10, it's successful because he's the right person. We're aligned.
Yeah.
And ultimately,
Yeah.
that's what it's about. That's what this workbook has taught me, is that it's not about having better social skills or communicating better with other people or finding better advisors or getting a different group of friends or getting a better job. It's about going inwards and saying, okay, what are my values? What are my strengths? What am I good at? What do I need in this life to make me feel good? How is this going to affect my family? And having those conversations with yourself, then feeling like learning to get back in touch with that, which we bury because we're taught in Western
Yep.
society that that's all crap and woo. And
Mm.
I think what we've done in Western society, I think we've made a mistake. I think we've taken a lot of science, which is brilliant, but then we've removed any kind of spiritual or metaphysical side of things. We've taken that
Yeah.
all out, and we are not we're not robots.
No, and we're not just meat bags
We're
either.
not meat bags.
So,
We're not robots. We're
yeah.
not just And so when you merge the two, people have forgotten how powerful that is.
Yeah.
And this is
And it is
ongoing stuff.
fascinating because there's, when you mention about in Western society, we have basically taken the spiritual aspect out. And it's funny,
Yeah,
it's almost like there is a, a rise happening in that now as
yeah,
well within communities, because especially within the Western world, because people have gone, there's something missing.
yeah,
And if you can connect science and metaphysics together, they
yeah,
actually complement each other really, really well. And there are some scientists that are doing that,
yeah.
and I think that's phenomenal because it's actually they're trying to do that. There's more to it than we actually realize, and there's way
Well,
more
it
to it, and
is.
there's way
I
more
mean,
to it.
yeah.
And that is,
No,
I mean,
yeah.
I'm not a scientist by any means.
Mm,
Yes, I've got a background in nutrition, so I've got that science mindset and things like that. I've also done a metaphysical theology degree, so I've got that spiritual aspect that I
mm,
absolutely love. And what I'm trying to do is bring those together.
yeah,
So, because I've realized how much that spiritual aspect, that metaphysical aspect is missing in people's lives, or we want it. Like, I know for a very long time myself, I knew it was there
mm,
and I wanted to be in that space more and more.
yep,
But then I would go, oh, but it's woo woo, like you were saying earlier on. It's woo woo. I
yeah,
don't want to step into that. And what will other people think? And da 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 da. And then when you start to go, well, stop looking at the external for
mm,
the validation,
yeah,
as you were saying,
yep.
and it's about going within and understanding what's really important to you, then I just went, well, screw it. This is the stuff this is what brings me joy. This is
That's
what I
right. And
love.
you're not hurting anyone. You're not
No, I'm
hurting
not
anyone.
hurting anyone. And
You're not doing the wrong thing.
if anything, I'd like to inspire people
That's
to
right.
ignite their spark
Yeah,
so they can live more authentically and
absolutely.
do the things that bring them joy and bring
Mm,
them happiness. And so hearing your story and what's been happening for you through the program, because I know when we
huge.
first introduced you to the program, you were a bit skeptical. I know that. And the beauty of it as well, that one of the reasons why I wanted you to do it is because of your criminology and psych background. Because you've got that really beautiful mindset around psych and criminology.
Oh, thank you.
And and that can also help people who are that way inclined align better and realize we're not just,
Mm.
talking woo-woo. We're going
Yep.
beyond that.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
we want to connect the two and bring the two together. So I find it, you're one of these people that, your worst critic can become your, best promoter as such.
Well,
And
that's
having you
yet
go
to be
through this, I
seen.
wouldn't say you're my worst critic, but having you go through it because of that background,
Yes, yeah,
and you're
yeah.
not going to come into it
No, no, no.
closed-minded, as you said. You're going to come into it with open eyes, and you're going
Mm.
to look at it from that analytical, logical perspective as well.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, I also always kept my mind open because I think,
Yes.
I think science and psychology, and other sciences are the beginnings of the understanding of it, but I think it stops short and doesn't quite get you over the edge. Like, it doesn't quite get you there
Yeah.
fully. This stuff is the final stage for me. It's like the final evolution of my Pokemon. You know what I mean? If I can say that. Yeah, this stuff kind of takes it to the final level where I feel like, oh, that's why it didn't stick before. That's why
Yeah.
previously I did all of the exercises and I did all of the CBT and I did all of the things that I was supposed to be doing, to keep my mental health strong but none of it actually, like, it made things better, but there was still that lingering doubt. There was still those same, how the same lessons keep coming up in life over and over
Yeah.
and over until you learn them.
Yeah.
Life is a
And still
really
the
tough
same monkey
business.
mind chatter going on as well. The fears, the
Yeah.
doubts, the self-sabotage patterns,
Yeah.
all of those types of things coming in. Yeah.
And the other mistake I think we've made as a Western society is that we have like separated sort of science and analytical thinking and then spiritualism, or except we've made it into a religion. We've made it into
Yeah.
organized
Yeah.
religion as well.
And I
Mhm.
and I think religion's very different to metaphysics. It's very different.
So we're telling people, if you need to find something spiritual that gives you that sense of filling that void of what you need inside, because we all need it, then
Yep.
go after a religion. Well, you don't actually have to do that. This
No.
also gives you that same sense of calm and connectedness and peace without, making you engage in dogma, which some of
Yeah.
us find very
And,
tiring.
I mean, some people get joy out of that, and that's fine. Um, however, I look at it and I say, the answers are within you. You are your own temple. You don't need to go to a temple to worship. You can if you want, but you don't have to,
Yeah.
because it really is within you. And
Mm,
so it's just about connecting with that source energy that's within inside of you, which
mm.
infinite intelligence to me, universal source, universal intelligence, whatever you want to call it, God for some people. It's that is in every single one of us because we are made from it.
Yeah.
Every element,
I think in the
every
Bible it
element in the
says
cosmos is made from it.
we're
Everything on this
supposedly
planet
made in
is
his
made.
image. If you're a
Yeah,
Christian,
yeah,
that's what we are, and he's the ultimate creator, so we're the little mini creators, aren't we?
yeah, exactly. And so if you're able to, the whole thing with metaphysics is to learn to connect within that
Mm.
and to trust yourself and understand that you do have the answers within you, but you've got to get past that veil of the lack of belief
Yeah.
and lack of belief in yourself, but also believing that there is something bigger than you.
And that is the hardest part. That's been
Mm.
the most difficult part all the way through, has been silencing those white-anting, undermining monkey mind voices. And it does go against everything that we're taught, growing up. I've got a very religious family. One side of my family is very religious. They would see this as probably, I don't know, witchcraft and spiritualism,
Yeah, yeah,
and that would be what they would look at it as, when it's absolutely nothing like that whatsoever. This is
no,
actually how I think humans are supposed to exist in that space of, because we're all different. We're all
yeah,
different. So what might be an authentic and aligned life to me might be completely different to someone else, and it will be completely different to someone else. But this for
correct.
me, I'm not built to be in that environment at this time of my life.
Yeah,
And but being able to go through the process and work through the workbook and learn the skills and ask myself the questions and then have the conversations with you with the one-on-one coaching. It's just been amazing. It's been amazing. I was just walking my dog this morning and I was thinking, God, I just stopped and realized how much I was actually really enjoying being in the moment, looking at how beautiful the sky was, the sun was
Yeah.
shining, there was little birds around. I was actually in flow, just taking my dog for a walk because I just felt good about things.
Love it. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And you are correct. And when you talk about we are all unique expressions. We've all got something, unique to express to the world.
Mm,
And we all do that differently. So that's why we all have different interests. That's
yeah.
why we will, and so I don't look at anybody and kind of go, well, your belief is wrong.
No, no, no.
Only wrong if it's not bringing you joy.
Yeah.
It's only wrong if it's pulling you down.
Yeah,
It's
that's
only
right.
wrong if, you're allowing fear and doubt and things like that to basically dictate your life. And
Mm,
if you're able to let those things go and to be able to fully express yourself because you have connected to who you are within
yep.
and you have allowed yourself to just let go and believe that, as I said, there is something bigger than you that's got your back,
Yeah.
you know? And as you mentioned, we're also creative beings as well. So we can create
Yeah.
our environment. It's a mirror reflection of what our thoughts are.
Mm,
So there's always those different sayings about, be careful what you think about because it comes about, all those types of things. And that's so true. There's more to those things. So your beliefs play a major role. So if you believe that life is bad, if you believe that everyone's out to get you, if you believe that, your work sucks, what have you, if you are constantly in a negative state, then
mm.
that's exactly what you're going to experience.
That's
But
what
if you
I've
can,
been that's what I've been going through the last sort of
yeah,
year or two. I think I've had some pretty ordinary experiences and it's really knocked me and it became a self-fulfilling prophecy.
it
Mm,
did.
absolutely. Yep. So sometimes when
And
you're stuck.
that's where you were when you came into the program
Yep,
as
yep,
well, was
yep.
you were in that state.
And I even know enough because of my background and because of the places I've worked and what I've done with myself. I even know enough to know that I was creating a self-fulfilling prophecy because I know that
Yeah,
that's how it works. But I wasn't able to get myself off that track because regardless of
yeah,
how much experience you've got or how good you've done things in the past, life changes. Life
it does
changes. We're in a
change.
different
Yeah,
stage of life. Sometimes you need something different. And if what you've been doing hasn't worked, got to change. You got to change. Got to do
yeah,
something different. And I, honest to goodness, did not think this would make that much difference, but it has. And I'm actually starting to go, ooh, I'm not sure what's next, but I actually feel like it's going to be good. And I don't know, and I don't have to know all the answers. That's the other nice thing. Because before, I think I used to have to be very in control, have to know all the answers, make sure that, I don't want to have to ask people for help, make sure that I can do everything and I just have to work really hard. And if that doesn't work, I'll just work harder. And then by this stage, I'm like white knuckling it through life. Exhausting.
yeah. And it
Exhausting.
is that just drains you, and you also become unwell, as we know, because the body tenses up, and you'll get, whether it's headaches, whether it's gut issues, whether it's constantly, getting a cold or coming down with stuff all the
Yep.
time, or just being stressed, overall stressed. The body does react to
Yeah.
you pushing yourself in a direction that that's not right for you.
No, that's right.
And it's really about listening to that, so it's really, like you mentioned earlier on, about listening to the body and taking
Mm,
the cues from the body.
yeah.
Because when you can even ask yourself certain questions and get
Yep.
an answer based on whether it's the right decision or not, based on how your body reacts to it when you ask the question.
Yeah. I think once you get
So
into that place where
yeah,
you're really able to hear it, yes.
yes,
Yes, I think so. I actually worked with a beautiful lady, Maria, who was a social worker, and she did a lot of somatic stuff.
oh yeah,
She told me how at one point in her life she could barely walk. She'd had something happen. I'm not quite clear on the full backstory, and I probably wouldn't share it at this point. But she ended up going and seeing a doctor that she called Doctor Spooky, who helped her reconnect stuff and worked on this kind of thing.
uh-huh,
And then
uh-huh,
now she walks and she's good as gold and she gardens, she does all the things. I mean, there's a lot more to that
yeah,
story than obviously that. But I think she always talks about when she meets people, she listens to her body because her body will tell her how to act around these people. If there's caution, if there's, whatever it is, you don't need to know why. You just need to know
No.
that's what your body's telling you, and you amend your behavior accordingly. Oh, and this
Yeah.
morning when I was walking my dog, I had a very cranky, angry looking man storming towards me because she was off lead. So I popped her on the lead and kept walking, and he was like really. "Ugh." So I stepped into the hara, that
Yep.
really deep part of your solar plexus. So I
Yep.
took a
The
big deep
center.
breath
Yep.
and I
Yep.
stepped all into my power and energy. And the minute I did that, he went from to he dropped his head, kept walking because I think he was going to say something to me, and he decided not to because my energy field went no.
Get you. Yeah. Totally
That
shifted.
was that was
Yeah.
pretty cool too. I thought that was I mean, I am a 6 foot tall woman, don't get me wrong, but, yeah, he was sort of I do still have guys try and give me a hard time, but that really works when you kind of really step into your power and just go, "No, not today," and
Yeah.
project that. People will sense it, and so that was awesome too because I just didn't feel like having a confrontation this morning.
It's fair enough. So what do you think were the biggest takeaways for you going through the program?
Well, I just think it's opened my eyes up a lot to my internal landscape. It's made me realize that I think I took my power back. Before this, I was
Right.
feeling quite, oh, what am I going to do? It all depends on what happens to on everyone else and their decisions outside and around me. That's which is an external locus of control, and that's the way to madness and destruction. So it's pushed my locus of control back to my internal focus. It's allowed me to feel a lot more grounded, a lot calmer. I'm not really worrying or anxious at this point. Like I just have faith things are going to unfold. I'm
Yep.
not saying I'm not going to. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to do the work. And I feel as though opportunities are going to pop up. They'll probably present themselves in overalls because there's
Yep.
always work, but that's fine. But I'm open to that now, and I'm just going to see where it goes. And even just the seeing where it goes gives you a sense of like a refresh to your life instead of just, oh
Yeah.
God, I've got 15 years of the grind left. I don't know what's going to come up, but a feeling it's going to be good, but we'll just see.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I'm not so
And what do you
concerned.
think?
Yeah. Sorry.
Sorry, what was that?
I'm just not so concerned. Like I'm going to get rid of my flashy karma and drive around in a little shitbox. I don't really care anymore.
So it's interesting because I know that you were saying that your anxiety is kind of
Non-existent.
not disappeared, but it's not really present. It's not really popping up as often.
No, I can't remember the last time I felt anxious about something. Oh, hang on. Oh, yeah, I did. I had a panic attack. Oh, this is silly. I had a panic, not an actual one. I sent a text to my friend Tammy yesterday and went, "Your parents are moving. They're selling the house." She went, "Yeah." And I went, "Make sure they don't leave without digging up that bloody rhubarb plant or we'll have no rhubarb this winter."
So you got the rhubarb plant.
Save the rhubarb. There you go. So that was my panic.
That was it. I love it.
Save the rhubarb, God damn it.
Fantastic.
Gets cold in Tasmania in wintertime. You need rhubarb and apple crumble.
You need rhubarb. Yeah, absolutely. So you've had that kind of start to dissipate. You've had the connecting with yourself more.
I've
And
lost
would you
6
also say that you're starting to trust yourself more?
Yeah. Yeah. I've lost 6 kilos.
Wow,
Um,
that's fantastic.
yeah. I'm just sort of like it's again
So you've made quite a few changes.
the external stuff isn't as important as getting in touch with yourself when you can actually listen to yourself, feel into your body, because I think a lot of the times when you're very stressed and anxious, you sit up in your head and you can't feel your body. That's why you do the deep
Yeah,
breathing exercises, okay? Because then it brings
right.
you out of your head back down into your body. Because and this is why the whole science side of things teaches us to be up in our brain and detached from all of that. And in fact, we need to have the whole thing united as one and aligned
Correct.
to work. Otherwise, it doesn't work. So, I mean, it might for a bit, but when you come back into your body, you go, you're not used to it.
Yeah.
So, being back in your body allows you to feel things like your digestion and that you feel full and you don't want to keep eating. And, you know, maybe one cider was enough.
You don't need 10.
I need 10. Happy for one glass of red with dinner. That will do the job. And
Yep.
dinner doesn't need to be big because I already feel full.
Yeah.
And I'm getting contentment from things like feeling good about other stuff that I'm thinking and feeling. So you don't need the dopamine hits from other distracting
Yeah.
shit. And you enjoy things more. And I'm reading books and just reading for pleasure and taking the moment, and which I hadn't done for a really long time because I would sit and try and read a book, and then I would go, far out, I've got so many things to do. Oh God, hang on. I better get on Seek and see if I can find a decent role where I'm going to fit.
Yeah.
The truth is, I don't fit working for most of the people because I just find them. Um, they, I'm not a button pusher. I'm used to just going step aside. I'll deal with that, and that doesn't work in the workplace.
So true. So
So I'm
true.
ready for my next
So
shift.
external validation is something that you've let go of, and that's because you've built a better relationship with yourself.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm sure I'll get plenty of criticism, and I know there's plenty of people out there that don't particularly like me because I'm not one of these people that you can squash, and so I've always been, okay, well, do what you want. I'm not doing that, and that pisses people off because if you are different, people don't like it, and it's helped me come to the realization that that's their issue, not mine, and I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't need to carry their baggage. Yeah,
No, when I say I
absolutely.
don't care, I don't mean that coldly. I mean,
No,
um, that's their
it's their
journey.
stuff.
It's
It's
their journey.
absolutely their stuff. Yeah,
Do what you
yeah,
want. I'm too busy, the grass is greener on my side because 'cause I'll be watering it over here.
yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah.
And what would be your, I suppose, biggest advice to anybody that was looking to take on this program?
Um, Buy the book and do the coaching because it's brilliant. That's what I would say. That's what I would
Be
say.
committed.
Well, if you're stuck, if you've done a lot, even if you've never done anything, if you're feeling stuck and feeling a bit burnt out, rat on a wheel, because it's so common in our experience midlife, and you've tried different things and you're not sure, like, and I did a few bits and bobs here and there. Um, just do it, give it a go, because one thing that really hit home is that you're always with yourself. You will always be with yourself. You came into this world with yourself. You'll go out of this world with yourself. If you're able to make peace with and be best friends with yourself, you'll never be lonely. You'll always be able to
Absolutely.
hear what you need to do in this life, and it'll give you a whole layer of just contentment to your existence that you've never probably experienced before. Because it really doesn't matter what other people think. If you are content with yourself and at one with yourself, you're a little bit indestructible, quite honestly.
You are.
Mm.
And the relationships in your life change and everything else changes as well because
Yes.
it's all about aligning to who
Yeah.
you're being.
All the
Yeah.
stuff you don't need just sort of falls away.
Yeah.
Mm.
Love it. Well, thanks for that. That's fantastic. And I from the bottom of my heart, I think it is absolutely amazing to see the results that you've actually been getting through undertaking the program
But you wrote
because
that thing and you did an
I did.
amazing job,
Yeah.
amazing job. Because can I just say, I was skeptical, but also the way you've structured it, it's so easy to follow. Because sages write about all this stuff. It's so complex and difficult to understand. You've really made it simple to understand, yet explained it all really clearly. And you stepped me through each stage. Um, it just sort of flows to the next bit. So you've done a fantastic job with it. Fantastic.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So thank
Thank
you.
you. 'Cause well, for me, it is about making something that can come across as being quite complex and turning it into
Mm,
something that is quite easy to take on
yep.
because we don't need more complexity in our lives.
No.
We want to be able to have things that are at ease. And if we can really rebuild that relationship that you have with yourself and understand
Mm.
that you are more than what you think you are,
Yeah, yeah,
you are
absolutely.
far more than that, and you
Yeah.
can achieve so much more in your life.
Yep.
And that's what it's really about is to ignite that spark in people and live
Yeah.
more authentically. So
Yep.
thank you for putting your hand up for actually undertaking the program as well. I do have other people going through it, but I just wanted to
Thank you for making
have
the
people
picnic. I
see
love it.
your insights and
Yeah.
see some of the changes that have occurred for you
Thank you.
just through you being committed to your own personal growth.
The changes have been like, when you look at them, massive, but also sort of within my comfort zone and comfortable as well, if I can sort of put it like that. Yeah. I don't know. My life isn't blowing up. My life is evolving. That's what I mean.
That's lovely. That is beautiful because we are evolving beings,
Mm.
and that's what we're here to do, to evolve. That's
Yes.
fantastic.
But thank you
So
so
thank
much.
you from the bottom of my heart. I really, really do appreciate you sharing your words and your experiences from the program.
Oh, it's been awesome.
To our audience,
Mm.
look, the program's actually called the Authentic Life Blueprint Program. It goes for 12 sessions, 12 fortnightly sessions, so over 24 weeks if you want. But it's 12 fortnightly sessions, and it's a full coaching program. So please go to our website if you want to get a little bit more information on that. That is theartofbeautifulthinking.com.au. Go under the product section and you'll see the coaching program within there. And if you've got any questions or would like to find out a little bit more,
Mm.
please provide a comment below or join our Facebook community page
Mm.
on the Art of Beautiful Thinking podcast community
Yeah.
page.
Yep. Hit us
The
up.
other element would be subscribe because that
Yes.
helps us get our message out there even more. So thank you, Kat. Thanks so much. And
Oh,
thank you to our
pleasure.
audience. And remember to think beautifully and live brilliantly. Until next time.
Thanks,
Ciao.
guys. Bye.
We'd like to say a huge thank you to our incredible audience for your continued support. Our mission is to ignite your spark, empowering you to be a beacon of light for others. We'd love to hear from you. So if you've got any questions that you would like answered in future episodes or just want to share some insights, connect with us on our Facebook community page. If you're looking for additional resources, go to our website. You'll find the link below. And remember, the absolute best way to help us grow is to share this episode with your friends and family and to subscribe to the Art of Beautiful Thinking podcast. So until next time, think beautifully and live brilliantly.